Will follow today's broadcast. And now, here's your host.
Good afternoon, or shall I say good evening, and it is a joy and a blessing to be back. We was on hiatus during the winter months, and so now it is spring on the calendar, but not actually outside. So, Al, I missed you.
I miss you, too.
And how was your winter?
Oh, it was cold.
Cold? Well, you know what? We didn't get any snow until, what, January?
Yes, but you know, I end up getting it. The walking pneumonia. Did you know that?
Did you really?
Yes. I end up at the walking pneumonia. I still have some. Still got that cough. But, you know, not the pneumonia behalf.
Okay. All righty. I just see Paul ran in here. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
I miss you, Paul.
I missed you too, kind of, sort of, but not quite.
I was on Paul's show, I think it was like a month ago. Mm-hmm. He has a syndicated show. Where is it syndicated? Facebook show. Facebook.
A worldwide show.
Yeah, worldwide show. It's on Facebook. And I can't remember the name of it, but it just, you know, he just comes up with a topip and you just join in on the topic.
Rambling.
Yes, that's what it is. Eclectic rambling. And the rambling does go on. So, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in with me on tonight. If you're interested in our topic, which is going to be civil legal services, please give us a call at 810-239-5733. Again, the number is 810-239-5733. In the studio today, we have Taylor. Is it Jameson?
Yeah, Jameson.
All right. So Taylor is a staff attorney at Legal Services of Eastern Michigan. She is a part of the North Flint Legal Outreach Immersion Program, a program funded by the Roofmont Foundation. Under this project, Taylor works with project partners in North Flint to provide on-site legal services for residents. So, Taylor, thank you so much for being with me on tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All righty, let's get into this conversation. Can you really let the listeners know or define what is civil legal services?
Mm-hmm. So it's probably easiest to define civil legal services as what it's not.
Okay.
Civil legal services encompasses basically everything except for criminal law matters or traffic matters.
Okay. Now, when you say traffic, what is the traffic?
So if you're coming in with like speeding ticket or OVI, driving while intoxicated, that sort of thing, legal services does not work with people.
Okay.
And if you have a criminal matter, we also are not able to represent you.
Okay.
But for any sort of civil legal matter, legal services is able to provide assistance. And that's pretty much anything that helps people access their basic necessities.
Okay.
So like having good housing, making sure that, you know, if you have a family, all of that's taken care of, getting your public benefits, if you have education issues, any of those things fall under the umbrella of civil legal services.
Okay. Well, listeners, we have a partnership, CHEA, which stands for CHEA, Center for Higher Educational Achievement. We have a partnership with Legal Services of Eastern Michigan, in which we're one of the partner hosting sites, shall I say, that welcomes legal services to come in to speak with individuals who are interested in this legal services. So can you explain what the partnership really is about?
Yeah, so with this partnership, instead of having people come all the way downtown to legal services and try to make an appointment with us, the goal is to have me go out into the community and reach people where they need legal services. So under this program, I go to CHEA and I'm able to make appointments with clients, do intake, offer representation on the cases that we're able to represent on, and it's mostly focused on North Flint. So the zip code's 48504, 48505, 48506. Those are the zip codes that the Ruth Mott Foundation was really targeting in setting up this program. We'll be able to help anyone who comes in, even if they're not in those zip codes, but that's who it's intended to reach out to.
Okay. For the listeners who are not familiar with us, the Center for Higher Educational Achievement, allow me to give you some background on us. Again, an acronym of our name is CHEA, CHEA, and we're a not-for-profit organization here in the city of Flint, and we offer several different programs to not just residents of Flint, but residents of Genesee County. And one of the things that we have is CHEA Adult Skills Center, and our Adult Skills Center works with adults 25 years of age and older. We start at the 0 grade level with adults because we do have a lot of adults who are performing between the 0 and 4th grade level in reading and math, and definitely at the 1st grade level when it comes to language arts. In addition to our adult literacy or adult education center, we have CHEA Sustainable Community Housing Program.
Oh, yeah.
So what most people don't understand, all educators really seem to understand this, but before we can educate the person, we have to remove certain barriers. And often when you're working with people who struggle academically, sometimes they're not employed, they're at the below the poverty rate. A lot of times they don't have stable housing. So when I meet students and they tell me this, we sometimes have properties that are available to rent, and we have to rent it for low to moderate income because of our grantors. So we have that. Another thing we have is this radio show, which is CHEA Use of Knowledge is Power. And the purpose of this radio show was that we talk about a lot of different things at the Adult Learning Center. So I thought in order to reach a broader audience, why not have it on a radio show and tie it into adult literacy? Because a lot of the guests that we have, it all correlates with adult literacy some kind of way. So the radio show, CHEA Use of Knowledge is Power, it is to empower people with the knowledge that's presented on the radio show in hopes they will use it in order to better their lives. Another thing that we do work with Land Bank with the Clean and Green Project. So we have a meeting coming up. I think it's Tuesday. We have a meeting coming up, so we'll know exactly what side of town we will be working on. We're located on the east side, so we know we'll be on the east side, but we just have to make sure exactly the specific areas that we're working with. So when you speak about Ruth Mott and the North Flint, Ruth Mott has a 5-year plan to, I don't want to say rehabilitate, but to invest in North Flint. And again, those zip codes are 48504, 48505, and 48506. And so we're also funded at our Adult Learning Center from Ruth Mott Foundation, and we have a program that's called North Flint Adult Education Program. And normally we charge for our services because we do one-to-one with students. We don't do group.
That's awesome.
The reason why you don't do groups, when you work with older adults, they're ashamed and embarrassed that someone knows that they're not reading at the average is a 7th grade level for an adult in the United States. But they're ashamed that someone knows this. So we don't want to embarrass the students. And also, sometimes when they're performing at such a lower level, some of those behaviors also dictates that lower level learning. So honestly, you do have some of like those immature kid-like behaviors when you put them in a classroom, even though you work with adults. So, but we work with you one-to-one. So the only person you're competing with is yourself. And so we're working at your pace. It's a one-to-one learning experience again, but you also have a individual lesson plan. So whatever your goal is, we have those who didn't graduate from high school. But we also have those who did graduate from high school, but they're still struggling with those basic skills for a better job opportunity. Most of the students that we receive, especially within that 40, really 50 and 60 years of age, they struggle with computer skills.
Oh, yeah.
And everything we do now is basically computerized.
Yeah.
I know if you go to like Walmart and you try to apply for a job, you have to sit at a kiosk in order to do it. If you're at home or if you go to employment services at Michigan Works, you have to do everything on the computer.
Yeah, everything's digital nowadays.
Everything. And it's not just looking on the internet and just filling out the application on the internet. You have to know how to upload documents, to attach documents. What is a PDF document? Hey, Al, what is a PDF document?
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought so. So they have to know how to attach those documents. So there at our center, we work with those adults in order to teach them those type of skill sets. Another program we have at the Adult Learning Center is CHEA post-incarceration program. So we work with Department of Corrections. We work with Reconnections, and we provide the educational services for men and women who have been recently released from any Michigan correctional facility. So listeners, if you know of anyone in the zip codes at 48504, 48505, and 48506, they're interested in adult literacy, please give us a call at 810-553-2140. If you know anyone who was recently released from any Michigan correctional facility and they live in Flint or Genesee County, that's a different funding stream there.
Yeah.
Please give us a call at 810-553-2140. So let's go into, Taylor, the different types of services and give our listeners an explanation as to what those services are and how legal services can help them. So let's start with evictions.
Okay, so a big chunk of what legal services does is we work with tenants, and one of the main categories is evictions. We help people who are being evicted either in a private landlord-tenant situation or if they're in subsidized housing and they're at risk of eviction or of losing their voucher or of losing their subsidized housing.
Now, when you say a voucher, what is the voucher?
So that is if for certain people, if they meet certain qualifications and are low income and have been on a wait list for a really long time with Michigan Housing and Development Authority, eventually they're able to get on a voucher program where the state of Michigan helps them with the cost of renting. And it's a really great program, but the rules on it are very, very strict. And if someone has an eviction on their record, they will lose that voucher moving forward. So you have to be really careful because, I mean, some landlords you'll see, there are some good landlords who are trying to work with people and stuff like that, but there are other landlords who they are, So
we do have them.
Yeah. So what we'll do is every Thursday we have a landlord-tenant clinic that someone can, if they're in an immediate eviction situation, they can come down to our office at Legal Services and we can get them through our eviction clinic and help represent them if they're going to court, or if we don't have the resources to represent them, at least give them an idea of what their options are and how they can represent themselves. If it's something that's not an emergency situation, they can also make an appointment with you at CHEA.
Yeah, they can. When you explain this, you made me realize the other services that we have supportive services. And we've been growing so much. And we have supportive services. So in addition to the services with the partnership with Legal Services, we also have a partnership with the State Bank. Most people aren't familiar with the State Bank. They're a bank that was started in Fenton. They have a branch in Fenton and they have a branch in Grand Blanc off of Hill Road, where they're coming to our site and doing one-to-one financial coaching with anyone that's interested.
That's awesome.
So what you need to do, you need to give us a call if you're having budgeting problems or if you need to clean up your credit, if you need to file bankruptcy, just to get your finances together. You're able to give us a call and get you scheduled. We do know that State Bank is only doing Monday sessions, but you have to call and schedule an appointment, and you are meeting with a licensed financial coach. It's just not anyone that's coming to do the financial coaching, but that's a wonderful service. And so with legal services, it's the same identical thing. You have to give us a call, and we have to see what's on, what day Taylor is going to be coming to us. Now, are we set on a Tuesday schedule?
I think we're trying to shoot for Tuesday afternoons and Wednesday afternoons.
Tuesday and Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to give us a call, and we'll get you on the schedule in order for you to meet Taylor. But we had our first client that came in on yesterday. Wow, that was Wednesday?
Yeah.
No,
that was Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Man.
I had to think for a second.
Yeah, today is Thursday. Yesterday was Wednesday. So our first client was Tuesday. Man, this is going by so fast. So she came in for something that's totally different that we normally don't talk about, is a will.
Yeah.
So what kind of services can you provide for an individual who needs a will?
So for people who are looking to do a will or think about their future estate planning situation, legal services can help. And one really great thing is that for most of our services, we are only able to represent people who are below 200% of the federal poverty level.
Wow.
But if you are over 60 years old and live in Genesee County, there is no income restriction. So we can help with all of their estate planning needs. And the person who came in on Tuesday, she came in just to get a will because that's kind of what most people think about when they think about end-of-life decisions.
Okay.
But it ended up that we are also filing for her a financial power of attorney and a health care power of attorney. And both of those are actually, in a lot of ways, more important than a will because all a will does is talk about, okay, this is who gets your stuff after you've passed away. But, the health care power of attorney, that's really important because, for all of us at some point in our lives will be in a hospital situation or have something where we need to have someone else make a decision for us. And you do not want to leave that to just, whoever they can find or anything like that. You want to have someone set who can make those decisions for you that you trust.
But you know what, Elle? I find a lot of people don't see the importance of that. That medical power of attorney.
Right.
I know sometimes when you're at the hospital, they have that packet for you in order to complete. But that is so important to have. I do have one.
Yeah.
But you have to be very careful as to who you have sign it. Because they're responsible for you and to make those legal decisions for you, those legal medical decisions for you.
Yeah, and it's not something that you want to be doing under pressure as they're like, okay, you're going into surgery. Here, sign off on this paperwork that's, your very life is in someone's hands. You don't want to be doing that,
Do you have
as
one?
a quickie.
Do you have one in place?
For me?
A medical power of attorney?
A medical, what you call it? Yeah, I do.
Also a financial power of attorney. I've had to sign off on someone's for that as well. That's important too because you can just slip and fall. I know my ex-in-laws when I think Kroger's was up there where Hallway Plaza is at, and she slipped and fell. At the grocery store, and she ended up having she hemorrhaged on the brain.
Oh, yeah.
So you just never know when something, who had plans, thought about you slip and fall, and we'll never really see you again after that. But you're never the same after that. And sometimes we take life for granted.
Yeah.
And so we can plan for everything else, but we don't plan for health. And sometimes we don't plan for death.
Yeah, and you don't want to be, a lot of times you don't want to be thinking about those things.
Yeah, but it's reality.
But and it's better to be thinking about those things when you're in a position that it's not something imminent, because you're in a much better headspace.
That's true. Whatever happened, you're supposed to rejoice when a person passed away, and you're supposed to cry when someone is born.
What they
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, though.
The way the world goes sometimes.
Yeah, like, oh, God, you got to come here and experience this. But, you're going away, you have to deal with this crap
mess.
here. Yeah. So let's talk about family law. What is family law?
So family law is something that, for me, that's a huge chunk of what I'm doing.
Okay.
And family law is really anything that has to deal with your relationships with other people. And a lot of times how those relationships get entangled with the court system.
Okay.
So if you're going through a divorce, you can come to us. We'll guide you through an intake process, and you'll be able to get assistance with filing your divorce. If you have a situation where you have custody of your child and you're not getting child support from the father or the mother, or if you're paying child support and you're not getting to see your child. You know, that's really something that's pretty common. And a lot of people, they don't even know that in a lot of cases, like it might not be the other parent who brought a case against them. It might be that the state brought a child support case against them because the child's on Medicaid or something like that. And people don't even know that, you know, they had this hearing and they have this order.
Most people think you have to go through the front of the court and deal with the front of the court. What are you going to say, Al?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what if the child isn't the guy's?
So, okay, that's something called, and we do help people with that. If the child is not the father's, then there's something that you can go through called a revocation of paternity action. And that is, so let's say a child's born and, you know, at the time you think that the child is yours, you've signed off on the birth certificate, you find out down the line that the child is not yours, then you need to revoke your paternity.
Let me ask you a question. How old does the child need to be in order for you to finally discover that it's not your child?
So there's not an age limit on it, but there's not a technical age limit. Now, it becomes much more difficult as time goes on. So, you know, because the court's mostly concerned with the best interests of the child. So, you know, if you've grown up and this child's like 17 years old or something like that, and they've grown up thinking that, you know, you're the father and stuff like that, the court's probably not going to be too eager to revoke paternity. But, you know, if the child was a little baby or something like that, the court can order DNA testing. There's a motion that we file. It's not a very clean process. You know, it gets messy. But a lot of things in family court get messy, you know. But that's something that, you know, it does happen. So that is something that we'll help people with and advise on.
Yeah, that is very common. That's sad to say. It's very common. Listeners, if you're interested in participating in this wonderful conversation, please give me and Al a call at 810-239-5733. Again, the number is 810-239-5733. Let's talk about tenant rights. Now, what's the difference between evictions and tenant rights?
So an eviction is something where the landlord supposedly has a cause of action against you. So that means that they have a reason to kick you out of the property. Like, typically that's non-payment of rent. Or that you violated the terms of the lease, like, you know, you were having mega parties, or, you know, you have chickens in your backyard. I had a case with that, actually, where...
For real?
Yeah.
Really? You know what, my great-grandfather, I never forget, he had chickens in his backyard. They owned the house, but he lived in the city limit. And I think someone had reported. You know, he had those chickens. And then we went over there another time. Like, where are the chickens? They were in the basement.
You had squatter chickens.
So from outside to the basement to the deep freezer. All right, so go ahead with your tenant rights.
But tenant rights is something different. That's something where it's not that the landlord has a cause of action against you. It might be that you are being denied your rights as a tenant to either even be able to rent the property, or while renting the property to have full use of the property. And something that's a big part of what Legal Services does is we are also a state-funded fair housing center. And as a fair housing center, one of our main job is to ensure that tenants are not facing discrimination. Tenants or home buyers. And nowadays, when people think of discrimination in the home buying or renting process, most of the time it's not something that's blatant. You know, it's something where, you know, someone's going to give you a handshake and a smile, smile while they are discriminating against you in the home buying process. We have a program where we have basically like mystery shoppers go and try and, go and have an appointment with a potential landlord and try to rent out a property, and they'll ask a bunch of different questions and stuff like that. After they're done, they write up a narrative of what they experienced. Okay. And then an attorney from our office reviews it and checks to see if there is discrimination. And, it could be an apartment complex, it could be a mobile home park, and it could even be, a bank if you're trying to get financing for a home. A lot of those places, there can be systemic discrimination that isn't immediately obvious. Wow. So that's one thing that we are very, very big on enforcing is tenants' rights and protection against discrimination. Wow. But other tenants' rights can be something, it's a little bit more lighthearted, like, you have a right to quiet enjoyment of your property. And that means, so if you're a tenant and you've been renting, you're paying this rent to your landlord and stuff like that, but your landlord is, for example, he's coming into your home without an authorization, that's something that's disturbing your right to quiet enjoyment of the property. So we can, deal with the landlord then. Or if the landlord is required under the lease to make certain repairs to the home and he's not doing it, that's something like we have tenants, who over the winter, they didn't have any heat. And it wasn't because they weren't behind on their heating bill or anything. It's because the furnace is broke. That's not the tenant's responsibility. That's the landlord's responsibility, and they can't take 2 months to, get some repair guy out to fix the furnace.
We just had in the news, it was last year, this apartment complex where the several times different landlords haven't been paying the water bill. When something like that happens, so let's say if you lived in an apartment complex and the landlord hasn't been paying the water for the complex.
And they're responsible for the water.
So what can you do?
So that's considered a repair issue. And there's a couple steps that you can do. It's better to have an in-person consultation with an attorney before you try any self-help remedies because, a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to withhold rent because, you're not giving me my water. So that is something that's an option, but you can't do it at the offset. You kind of need to make a paper trail. So, you're sending letters to the landlord saying there is no water, this is an issue. And then saying, if you don't fix the water, I'm going to withhold rent. You can't just do it on your own. So it's something that each case, in tenant rights cases, each case is so individualized that it's really best to talk to somebody before you make any of those decisions.
Now, you're stating that they have to be 200% below the poverty rate in order to qualify. My question is, if you're 200% below the poverty rate, a lot of times there's educational barriers. How else, if we didn't have the radio show, how else would an individual be able to know about these type of services with legal services?
And that's something that we've kind of realized. A lot of people don't know about us, and a lot of people don't understand the breadth of issues that we work on. A lot of people have heard of legal services, but they think, they only help with evictions or something like that. We have been, that's what a lot of this North Flint outreach program is to make people aware of their options and aware of their rights. Because if you have access to an attorney at no cost to you, that almost everyone has something that, they could benefit by having an attorney review and look at. But if people don't know that we exist or they don't have a way to get to us because the bus system, it might take them 3 hours to come for a half-hour appointment with us, in a lot of places. That's something that we're trying to remedy right now.
Yeah, so and on top of that,
needs to be worked on.
On top of that, you got to pay for the parking down there if you're driving,
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully you can stay for the park at the flat lot.
Yeah. Or CHEA doesn't. You don't pay for parking.
Oh, you don't pay for parking at CHEA. You know, we bought the vacant lots across the street from us. So we're working on doing not renovating, but actually beautifying that area, keeping the street clean. So when you're parking along the curbs, there's no debris or anything that's there. But there was something I was going to say, and it just totally slipped my mind. I got it back.
Yeah.
So when you come in, or if you call us and you state that you want to do you have some legal questions, what's going to happen is we're going to schedule you on a day that Taylor is available, and Taylor is going to come in and she's going to do an intake session with you. And from that intake session, she's going to schedule another appointment in which you actually sit with an attorney that specializes in that area in which you need the help.
Most of the time. Sometimes, for some issues, if they're meeting with me at the initial intake, we can handle it right there. If it's fairly, for some basic legal issues, we can just kind of do it in-house at that first appointment, or at a follow-up appointment. If it's something that is a little bit more complex, then I'll take the case to our case acceptance meeting. We have case acceptance meetings every Friday, and I'll bring it up, and then another attorney will be assigned to the case. And unfortunately, we can't guarantee that everyone's going to have an attorney through the entire litigation process, just because we're limited with our resources. But you'll at least be advised on your legal issue, at the very, very least. And normally you get more than that.
Taylor, that's our time.
Oh, awesome.
Isn't it? It just goes by so fast.
It went really fast.
So listeners, I'm so grateful and thankful for you tuning in on tonight. We'll be back with you on next Thursday at 6 o'clock. So please join us then. Have a good evening.
For the past 30 minutes, you've been listening to CHEA Use of Knowledge as Power broadcast.